started telling me all the technology that's available today and how easy it was to improve your ability to hear. We thought, well, this is a good thing for the technology committee to bring to the community. And I think you all are going to absolutely love this presentation. We're very excited about it, and if anybody wants this to go into more depth and detail in the future, Mike would be happy to come back and do something that's even more detailed technically. So we are videoing this today, so it will be posted on the Hershey's Mill YouTube channel. We'll send a notice out to the community saying that it's available so that you can watch it anytime you like, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or you can send other people to it as well. So just know that that's going to be available to you. So let me introduce our speaker, Mike Miles, and his other outreach volunteer for HLAA. Mike is the outreach coordinator for HLAA in Chester County. He's been living with hearing loss for 20 years, so he's got lots of experience. His loss came on suddenly in his early 40s. He discovered HLAA several years later, and he's been volunteering and making presentations ever since. He's adapted to living with hearing loss through talking with others and learning what tools and technology have worked for them. Now, Sandra Brown is also a volunteer, an outreach volunteer with HLAA, and you'll see her passing around a wireless mic at the end of the presentation so that you can answer or ask any questions that you'd like to have answered. And then after the presentation is complete, both Mike and Sandra will be available if you want to speak very briefly one-on-one. So here we go. Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you, Sherry. I just want to also thank Sherry, who has helped me go through the logistics of this and get the email out to all of you and help me out on knowing what to expect when I got here. I was done in 1 minute setting up my computer, so it's a beautiful setup we have here. And also Lee Daster, who was one of your residents and is new to us at HLAA. We met her and her husband Rusi at our hearing loss conference 2 months ago that we had. It was a half-day conference on various hearing loss issues, and she learned a lot about HLAA at the time and has been really helping us out a lot. At the very end, she's going to talk about a project she has taken on that is something that's been in the back of our minds, but nobody's ever had time. With her background, it was perfect for her to do. We have a table over here with handouts as well as books that we can talk to you about at the end of the session, and you can feel free to take whatever you would like. I'll also be talking about several pieces of technology. I'm wearing a couple of them, and I'll tell you what they do. But there's more than just what I'm wearing. There's so much in the way of technology right now for people with hearing loss. I say that it's a great time to have hearing loss because 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I started, it was hearing aids and that was about it. But now there are so many other things that you can put into what I call your toolbox, your hearing loss survival toolbox, and we'll talk about a lot of them, that it makes it much easier for all of you to continue to live an active life even though you have hearing loss. You don't have to just stay back at your house and have one-on-ones with your spouse all the time. You can get out a little bit more. So, quick intro to HLAA. I'm Mike Miles, Sandra Brown, Steve Schubert's our president is here of our Chester County chapter. We're all part of the Chester County chapter, and his wife Judy, who's our secretary. There's also a member, Jim Kane, who's a member of our chapter. He's here somewhere, and he's one of your residents as well as the masters are. So, real quick, I'm going to give you just a couple of abbreviations that we in the hearing loss world use to make life a little easier. You'll see these throughout the presentation. HL for hearing loss, HA for hearing aid, like I'm wearing, CI for cochlear implant, got one a couple months ago. Not many people are familiar. I didn't know what a CI was when I first had my hearing loss. I had never seen one 20 years ago. But they're tremendous for people who are close to death. HOH, hard of hearing, and ALD. This is the newest term that's come out the last 5-10 years, and it talks about a whole bunch of things that are considered assistive listening devices and technology, and we'll talk about some of those as well as communication tips. So, HLAA is a national organization started in 1979, Hearing Loss Association of America. The mission is very simple: to open the world of communications to hard of hearing people by providing education, information, support, and advocacy. There's a grassroots network of over 100 chapters and support groups in the U.S. Chester County happens to be one of them. We have another one up in Montgomery County and one down in Delaware County. That's where all the work is really done. National is 10 or 11 people, and primarily what they're doing is legislating and advocating with Congress and trying to get more bills passed for all of us with hearing loss. Like the over-the-counter hearing aids you might have read about 9 months ago. It's been in the news a lot. Chapter members, we're not audiologists. We are everyday people like you who have been living with varying levels of hearing loss. Me for 20 years. Steve just started a couple years ago. Everybody is a little different at a different level of hearing loss, so we all bring something to the table. And our job, or our volunteer role, and our desire is to help others learn the coping skills that we've learned over the years. And the best way to do that is by socializing and support groups with other people with hearing loss. Because so many people have figured things out that work for them that might work for you. And we're trying to share that with as many people as possible. We try to educate on what's out there on hearing loss, the latest developments on hearing aids and implants and technology, the latest laws. Mostly, it's about getting your life back if you've been avoiding doing certain things, and helping yourself, and then hopefully, like us, once we can help ourselves and learn, we can turn around and pass it forward to others and help others as well. Disclaimer, we're going to be talking about some technologies and apps for the phone. These are not endorsed by HLAA, the organization, in any way. These are things that we have found that work for us. And you can talk to somebody different, maybe in our Texas chapter, and they might have found something different that works for them. That's great. We all meet together at a convention once a year, which is at the end of this month in New Orleans, and we talk to people from all over the country, and it's amazing how much you learn about what people are doing in other parts of the country. But there's a lot of similarities as well that we can talk about today. So, why are you here? Well, you probably care. Even if you don't have it, you probably care about somebody who does. As you'll see on the next slide, your odds of having a hearing loss in the future are pretty good. Some level of hearing loss. If you didn't know this, the hearing cells, you have about 15,000 of them in your ear when you're born. They just gradually die over your life. If you were a bunch of hippies and following the Grateful Dead back in the 60s and 70s and sitting up near those speakers, you probably lost a lot of your hair cells, and you're probably experiencing some hearing loss this later in life. It just happens naturally, and they don't regrow. Unfortunately, we're not like other animals where they can regrow their hearing cells, but there is research looking into it. 48 million, and that number we've been using for 3 years, it's probably higher. People are hard of hearing in America. 1 out of every 10 has some level of hearing loss. Over age 65, 1 in 3, 33%, have some degree of hearing loss. 80% of hard of hearing people are in denial and the average is 7 years before they do something about it. So we'll talk about untreated hearing loss, which are these people that have not done anything, and then treated hearing loss, which means getting a hearing aid, a cochlear implant, or using technology to help you. And what's really a shame is 2.7 million of our veterans have service-related hearing issues. It's hearing loss and tinnitus. If you know what tinnitus is, that buzzing sound, are the two biggest medical issues that our veterans are coming back with from war. At any time throughout my talk, I have no problem if you have a question or a comment at that point. You don't have to wait to the very end. I will stop at the end of sections and ask you, but feel free if there's something I just talked about that you want to nail.
Sorry. I just wanted to say, was there one?
Hold it straight on like this, Judy, to your mouth.
Is it on? No. Okay. I just wanted to say that at the beginning of this meeting,
Judy has to really be up here. No, the thing has to be right here, not.
I just wanted to say that my husband reminded me at the beginning of this meeting that the room is looped, and I totally had forgotten about it. Not sure that anyone here knows what a loop is or a T-call in your hearing aid, but if you do, it's available. So I just wanted to, it made such a big difference in me being able to hear Marty, because it goes right into my hearing aid through the T-call. So just wanted to add that.
Okay, so in introduction, I'm going to talk about these three sections. First, the impacts of the untreated hearing loss, mostly I'm going to talk about what it can do to you. Then we'll talk about how to cope with the impacts of the hearing loss by putting together something I call the hearing loss survival toolbox. Okay, things that you want to have available, handy, whether you're going to a doctor's office or you're just going to a meeting or to a restaurant. Excuse me, I've got a tickle in my throat. We will have some handouts over here on the best ways to communicate with people who have hearing loss, but also the best ways for those of us with hearing loss to communicate with our loved ones, our spouses in particular. We could all give you war stories on funny and maybe not so funny things of trying to communicate with spouses as we introduce hearing loss into our relationship after having 30 years of nothing at being wrong. And suddenly you have this issue that is very, very difficult to adapt to. And then understanding your hearing loss and how to get help. So this is a key term or sentence, and people don't think of it this way, but hearing loss is invisible. It's an invisible disability. If you're in a wheelchair, if you're wearing glasses, if you have a cane and are walking around, people can see that there's something that's not right, and maybe be more sympathetic to you, right, and help you out. But with hearing loss, you can have somebody talking to you from behind, and then they catch up to you and say, "Hey, idiot, didn't you hear what I was saying?" And it's like, "No, I didn't, because I have very bad hearing loss. I'm deaf. I can't hear from behind me." And that happens. And it's a shame, and it's also what leads to a lot of the emotional stress that those of us with hearing loss experience, because it is invisible. You don't have to walk around with one of these, but I put it on just to show you what's out there. Some people wear little things. Mine says, "Please face me." You know, if I'm at a counter or a doctor's office or the airline counter, I can wear this, and it gets their attention. But you need that, as we'll talk about later, to be helping you out a little bit. Because hearing aids aren't always obvious. Women can hide them underneath all their hair. A lot of people tell me they don't even know I have a hearing aid unless they get really close to me, because they're behind the ear. So it lends to the invisibility of this disability, which is very, very important to understand. So I'm going to start with the impacts of untreated hearing loss. If you're in that 7-year phase where you really should get it checked out and do something about it, first of all, if you know anybody like that, or friends you see has become more withdrawn, not going to the social events they used to go to, please talk to them and figure out if maybe that's what they're experiencing. Because it's one of the first things that happens to all of us, is we tend to pull away from social events because it's so hard to communicate the way you used to in loud areas. It certainly affects your everyday life. Socializing is probably the toughest because you can't always control the environment that's around you. And we'll talk about how some of these can help. You start to isolate yourself, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. And that leads to sadness, depression. You stop going to the movie and the theaters because you can't hear all the language. Now, what we do have now is more and more theaters and movies are putting closed captions on movies. Not everyone, but they have a list. And one of Judy's jobs with our newsletter every week, actually, she puts together a list of all the theaters and movie theaters that have closed caption shows and the times that they're showing them, and sends it out to everybody on our member list, 100+ people, so that they can know, oh, here's one we can go to, and we can get captioning and actually hear what's going on. Or People's Light Theater does captioning. The Hedgerow Theater is a good friend, the director is a good friend of HLAA. She's putting in captioning. So there are options out there. So don't give up going out and doing what you used to enjoy. The toughest, and it still is the toughest, even with certain listening devices to help, is the old cocktail party and noisy restaurants. People are working on it. There's ways to alleviate it, and I'll talk about a couple of those later. The other real big one is with loved ones. I remember a grandfather of mine sitting all the way over in the corner by himself during all the socializing. You know, and you go over and say, hey, Grandpa, how you doing? You know, And it was a shame to say, but now it came back to me once I had mine at an early age. So they get frustrated with you, especially your spouse. You just have to work at it and give them these little tips. But remember that it's also a two-way street, that you also have to work hard as well to get their attention. I find the children easier to convince and to help you out. They tend to pick it up a little quicker. Other impacts of the hearing loss during the pandemic, this first one really came out. All the doctors and nurses and everybody wearing masks, no matter where you went in a medical facility. Became very difficult to hear them through the mask. And not only that, but the doctor sitting there typing in his computer, talking to you, and you're behind him sitting there on the bed. You couldn't hear anything. What if you missed something that he was saying, he or she was saying? So there's certainly safety issues, but you also have rights as a patient. And again, we have, I don't think I have a handout, but we have a link to communications with the healthcare environment that's on our website that you can look at. And we'll talk later about a medical kit that I think can be helpful. Tinnitus, I saw some heads nodding. Some people might have it. I heard a recent statistic that said 80% of people that have tinnitus also have some form of hearing loss. So they usually do go together. And there's also some help on tinnitus, but I'm not going to talk on that because I'm not an expert in tinnitus. I don't have it, I don't think. The one that bothered me the most was giving up outdoor sports. I'm very athletic. And I had trouble going down the fairway, walking down with the other three golfers. And, you have all the air around you, the ambience, and little noises in nature. It's beautiful, but they're all talking while they're walking forward. And I'm over here. I couldn't hear what anybody was saying. It was just so frustrating. So I dropped that and took up pickleball like everybody else. Now I have back pain. Tennis and pickle are a little better because you're a smaller court and you can hear. I just can't hear them tell the score for the other side, so I just rely on my partner for that. But I usually tell people that I'm partly deaf, and please yell the score out for me, but pickle has worked out much better. And then the emotional impacts of hearing loss from those last 2 pages, anxiety certainly increases. We have this term, auditory fatigue. And by the end of the day, if you've been maybe still working at a job, or like me, I was teaching over here at Villa Maria, by the end of the day, I would come home and just collapse. I just wanted to go to bed. Because it's really an effort to, as part of my job, trying to hear what that soft-spoken little girl in row 4 is saying, you know? B, C, D, and E all sound alike to me when I ask them what was the answer. But you can have this just in regular life and socializing, and it's something to be aware of as to why you're so worn out and tired and grumpy maybe by the end of the day, especially if you're not treating the hearing loss with hearing aids or something else. Safety certainly is an issue. I, like many people, take their hearing aids out at night because mine are rechargeable, so I have to recharge them at night. I can put in a battery one and keep it in one ear, but if I fall into that ear, it sends out this loud screeching noise. So there are tools out there. There's phones and alarms that not only buzz and make noise, but they flash this really bright light to wake you up. The other safety issue is, can you hear people behind you? If you're truly not wearing something that's letting you pick up the sound behind you, safety can be an issue as well. And the last couple of years, this last one has finally been proven with scientific research. People thought there was a correlation. Now they've proven it. Dr. Lin down at Johns Hopkins, that dementia is correlated to untreated hearing loss. That can come from not treating and doing something about your hearing loss. I can't explain the scientific reasoning behind all that, but if you're interested, Dr. Lin at Johns Hopkins University has done a lot of research in that area. So what happens when you treat the hearing loss? Whether it's with hearing aids, assistive listening devices, better communication skills, coping skills, you're going to have better relationships, for one, with your family and friends. All that frustration with your spouse is hopefully going to decrease. Doesn't go away completely. I've had mine for 20 years, and I still have my wife calling me from the other room, wanting to tell me about something. I say, honey, can't hear you. You'll feel better about yourself as well. You really will. It just naturally, the stress and anxiety leaves if you start hearing better and have better relationships. Improves the mental health and greater independence and security. You'll be more wanting to go out more, not just stay home. As I mentioned, theaters and other things, you can do stuff. This one, though, is still going to be an issue without certain assistive listening devices. It would take me probably an hour to tell you all the ways I've been able to use this with my phone, so I can go to a restaurant now, block out the noise behind me, like a loud restaurant, Macabre down in Berlin I like to go to, and it's noisy TVs, but I can adjust my phone adjustments and this microphone and hold it toward my wife and daughter to block out 80% of all the other noise behind me, so I can just hear those two coming at me a little more clearly. So there are ways, it just takes a little bit of work to do it. You have to get creative sometimes. All right, so don't despair, it's not all bad. There's many coping tools. We couldn't cover it all today. We'd be here all day trying to cover all of them. So I've tried to put some key ones on here that you can learn from. We've also got some handouts and QR codes to some websites that are helpful. The very first rule, these are just general rules, is get your hearing checked, obviously. And if your doctor does prescribe hearing aids, you gotta wear them. can't tell you how many stories we hear when somebody calls our chapter and says, hey, we have some used hearing aids that, so-and-so died and we found it in the drawer. They weren't getting used, they weren't helping any. So you really got to wear them to your ears, your brain has to adapt to that new sound that you might not realize what you were missing before. Maintain a sense of humor, you have to. Some things can be pretty funny, but just try to keep it light and be patient. You have to educate others, and you have to educate yourself on the best way to communicate with others. So back on the hearing aid, one of the reasons a lot of people stop wearing them is they get frustrated right away and don't like the sound or don't like something about it, and they don't go back to their audiologist. You have the right in that 1 year or 2 year warranty period to go back to them as much as you need to. You pay a lot of money for those hearing aids. Go back and see them and let them know specifically the situations where you're having trouble. And they can put programs into your hearing aid that will cover those specific situations. Like the one I have in my phone for loud restaurants. I have a program that I go to that and it blocks out all that noise. It's okay to ask somebody to repeat or rephrase something. Sometimes repeating doesn't help, so you say, could you rephrase that a little differently? You'll also get good at, if you know already, reading people's lips. Little by little, you just learn how to do it. I've taken a course on it, but I already found that when I look at somebody's lips that are talking to me, it's actually helping me. So you'll, just by osmosis, I guess, you'll be able to pick up things by looking at their lips. The biggest one is don't bluff. When you bluff, you're probably end up embarrassing yourself. You know, when you're not, and say, oh yeah. And then my wife goes, oh great, let's order it now. Oh, what did I just agree to? You know, don't do it. Bluffing is tough. Use the first one until you get it right. All right, so actual devices. Number one. This is the best friend of people with hearing loss anymore, a smartphone. It's got to be a smartphone. It can't be just a little flip-up thing that is, is very inexpensive. These smartphones are amazing technology, and they're amazing in what they can help us with our hearing. Bluetooth in particular is the number one reason. So what can I do with my phone? Through my phone and Bluetooth, I can wear what's called a partner mic. I can put this around, ask my wife to put this around her neck in the car if we have a long drive somewhere. Car noises, you don't realize it until you have hearing loss. Car noises are tough. All the road noise and everything else around, it's very hard to hear somebody right next to you when you have this level of hearing loss like I have. So she puts this around her neck, turns it on, and when she talks, even though she's facing the road, it's like she's talking right into my ear. Or I give it to my daughter in the back seat if she's the one I want to be listening to. That goes through the Bluetooth in the phone, because there's an app that you download, but when I sit up front, it's picked up on probably closer to 80% to 90% of what he might be saying. So there's microphones that you can buy depending on the hearing aid you get and what microphone you want. But it's all done via the phone and Bluetooth. I can also connect directly to my TV. There's two ways to do it. One through Bluetooth, the other, and we can show it to you later, there's a little contraption where I charge my microphone every night. You plug that contraption into the back of your TV and have it turned on. The TV goes right to my ear, directly to my ear. It's heaven. I've been living without it for about 10 years. Now I can hear what the announcer is actually saying in the game, explaining the game or something about a play because of that. And I also use it with my computer. I plug this into my computer on the side for a Zoom call, And I know on a lot of Zoom calls, board meetings, HLAA meetings, especially during the pandemic, and the microphone, the new one, plugs into the other side, and immediately any sound coming out of here goes directly to my ear. I don't hear anything else in the room around me. All I hear is the people talking right there on the computer. So technology is tremendous. Like I said, this is pricey. I don't know what this is anymore. I got this about 4 years ago, the basic link. It's much cheaper. But they are tremendous if you do a lot of the kind of things I just described, especially with the TV. There's other ways to attach to the TV. This isn't the only way. But this is the one that I can speak to that works for me. And then the other beauty is when somebody calls, I don't have to be in the room with the phone. It rings directly in my ear. I can just push a button and start talking. You know, I'll still go get my phone just to have it, but you can have the voice go right to your ear. You don't have to do this and have all the feedback from your hearing aid going up against the phone. That is very aggravating. Plus, the basic microphone on the phone isn't that great. But when you have it going directly via Bluetooth into your ear, it's heaven. It really is. I can even understand people like foreign people that you call, like customer service over in India, and they're trying to tell you how to fix maybe your computer. I couldn't do that before. I had to ask for an English-speaking person because I really, now I can get a lot more because it's going directly into my hearing aid. So the technology is amazing right now, and it's just getting better. Apple and Google and others are focused a lot right now on improving technology for people with hearing loss, but just people in general. If you notice all the young kids walking around with that white, what's it, the iPod or the iBud? The iBud that's sticking out of their ears? Those iBuds can be used as hearing aids too. They put so much technology into them for mild hearing loss. The second great improvement and very, very useful is what we call speech-to-text apps. You're all familiar with captioning, I assume. Captioning on a TV, which you can get now on many channels. Well, with automated speech recognition, if I'm having a small meeting with somebody, it's just me and 3 others on the round table, and I'm struggling maybe with some of the people talking, I can lay this on the table and open up one of my speech-to-text apps. I have 2, and I can see the words that are being said if I'm not hearing the person maybe who's all the way across the other side of the table. It's great in the doctor's office because you're close to the doctor. Even if he or she has the mask on, you have this here, and you can see the words that they're saying show up right on your phone. So, Android phones, if that's what you have, it comes with the phone free. Theirs is called Live Transcribe. I'd be happy to show somebody on my Android Samsung later on if you'd like to see it. I hear that that's the best one out there. It's been out there longer than others. Apple just came out in the last year with something called Live Caption that's on their phones, similar. Just have to open it up and it starts captioning the conversation that's going on. This ideally is good for one-on-one. You don't want a whole bunch of people talking at once and get confused. It's really more for one-on-one or maybe 2 people. And then there's some that you can download to your phone called, these are the 2 most popular, Otter and Ava. Are there any others you guys use other than Otter? Otter and Ava, everybody seems to use. You can get it free, but they give you a limited amount of hours per month that you're allowed to use it. You can pay a premium price and have unlimited if you find that you use it for a lot of meetings. And you can actually save the conversations that you were having in these apps. to look at later if you want to go back and remember something. So Escape, if you're taking minutes for a board meeting or something, it's super, because you can pick it all up and you can go back and read it. But this captioning is very helpful and necessary to cope in the world of hearing loss. So we, HLAA, and other advocates are pushing for captioning everywhere we can. New York City, the HLAA chapter up in New York City, they pushed and took it to the legislature in New York City so that every theater has to have some form of captioning up in Broadway in New York City. And some of our other chapters have done similar things as part of their advocacy work. I'm going to stop and ask, yes?
Just a quick FYI, Steve. We are installing voice response television units all over the community right now on an upgrade, okay? If you push the little blue button for your audio on your remote and say turn on captions, it happens on your television. You don't have to know how to format it or just hit the blue button and say turn on captions.
Is that the blue button that has the microphone?
Yep.
Yes.
I'm sorry, did you not hear? Did you not hear?
Most people back here could not hear that. Can you all hear me?
Microphone is on?
You all hear me? Everybody here, you know we're doing the Verizon plan?
Sorry, Bill will repeat it for you if you didn't hear.
As everybody knows, we're going through the Verizon upgrade right now, and predominantly everybody here is getting the voice response remotes and upgrading television units, okay? On those voice response units, if you hold the little blue button with the microphone down and say, turn on captions, it happens on your television. You don't have to go in and try to program it or find the menu or anything else. Just hold the blue button down and say, turn on captions. Or turn them off if you don't want them, but either way.
The blue button on our phones?
The blue button on the television remote, the FiOS TV remote, has a little blue button in the middle with a microphone on it. You can say, change to NBC, change to channel 10, turn on captions, and it happens. Okay?
That's great. Anywhere where you can get things captured is a plus. I read an article recently in the New York Times that even younger generations now have discovered the beauty of captions, and they are using them. I think it started with Netflix or YouTube. A lot of those movies they made had captions on them. So even the younger generations are asking for it and looking at it. So it's tremendous wherever you can get it. So there's those apps. Then there's live captioning for your phones. Have any of you seen those caption phones that people get in their house? I don't know if you know anybody who's got bad hearing loss that uses those caption phones. So the landline phones are they're not sold because they're free to you. And the reason they're free is that you've been paying the FCC a few dollars every single month on your phone bill for the last 40 or 50 years that nobody ever notices. But because of that tax that goes to the FCC every month from everybody, FCC covers the cost of captioned phones. All you need to do is have your audiologist certify that you have hearing loss and need a phone. And these are the three that are registered with the government: Caption Call, CapTel, and a newer one called Clear Captions that came out several years ago. And what you have to do is contact the rep for one of them, and they will come out and bring all the paperwork. I think they bring out the paperwork, including what has to be signed by the audiologist, and they deliver the phone, or plural, I guess, if you need more. But it's completely free to you, and also free if it doesn't work, we'll come back and replace it. Now, for your cell phone, you can also get live captioning. If you don't have the phone going into your ear for some reason, like I do, or you just want to also have the words in front of you, you can download one of these apps. InnoCaption has been around the longest. Olelo, who's about 3 or 4 years old. CaptionMate, I think CaptionMate is owned by one of the other 3. There's a few others out there, but these are the most well-known ones. And you can get that on your cell phone so that when you receive a call, automatically that app opens up, and as somebody starts talking, you've got the captions going across right there for you. So there's options for the cell phone as well. Just general coping skills, and this is really helpful. Whenever you're going out somewhere like a restaurant, and we don't want to give up going out to restaurants, I know I do. Be aware of the surroundings of the restaurant. If it's someplace you've never been to before, when you call for the reservation, ask the person if you can have a table that is up against the wall, away from like the kitchen and all these other noises. Or if you know the restaurant, when you get there, try to get there early, and sit, the person with hearing loss, sit up against the wall. That way you're not going to have all the ambient noise of everybody else behind you in the restaurant entering into your attempt to hear the people at your table. You'll still probably need your app to tone down some of the other sounds, but it can help by sitting that way. If you're sitting in a small room like this, try to get close. If it doesn't have a microphone or a loudspeaker or anything, sit up close. Maybe that's enough to hear. And, like I said, maybe you'll learn to speech read. Maybe you already know how to speech read certain words. I started doing that with the priest before I got my microphone. Any other suggestions you guys have for Judy, Satya, Steve? Judy?
It helps to have the speaker's face well lit. Like, don't have their back to a window where the light isn't shining on their face, because you are probably lip reading a little bit, and it helps to see their face.
Yes, that also goes for Zoom meetings, Judy. When I get on a Zoom meeting with people who are deaf and need read lips, they say, Mike, that window behind you, I can't see your lips. Can you please move to a different spot so that I can see your lips when you're talking?
It helps to have them slow down when they speak. A lot of kids don't slow down when they speak, especially children. We found out with our grandchildren that they just jabber. And they don't slow down. And the salesmen, others do that too. So if you ask them to slow down,
And I think one thing I've noticed is that just articulating clearly. We tend to say, well, you know, how are you this morning? You know, that's what I tend to talk about. I really have to be thoughtful about how I say the words that I say. And I think I notice how Steve is very precise in saying his word. He doesn't drop the N's and so on and so forth. That's just a habit. It's just, it's a habit. It's learning how to speak more clearly. And it takes practice to do that. And I have found that helpful.
Thank you. I've got some communication tips coming up here in addition to those two, which are very, very important. And the biggest thing is be honest with everybody, whether they're friends or new people that you're out with. Just let them know up front that you have hearing loss and how they can help communicate with you. They'll want to do it. You know, if you're all out together to have a good time, they'll want to include you and have everybody included in the conversation. And then also, I'm not advertising just HLAA, but if you need people to talk to, join support groups. I call them support groups, but we're more than just support. We also educate, and we have a lot of meetings. I'll talk about at the end of some other things that we do. So general communication skills, this is just 5, I could go on forever, like I said, but this is just 5 general ones for helping. Over here on the table, we have this card. On one side are the tips for people who are hearing when communicating with people who have hearing loss. The other side, tips for people with hearing loss when communicating with people who are fully hearing. It's a nice little, short and sweet, depending on which one you are, the hearing spouse or the hearing loss spouse. It really helps. It really helps to sit and talk about it. There's a whole bunch of them over here at the table, so take plenty if you need them for friends. So communications is certainly a two-way street, as we just said. You want to ask spouses and friends to get your attention, right, before they start talking to you and attempting to talk. Ask them to look at you as they talk. Turn down or turn off any competing noise that might be in the room. That's a big one. You don't realize it at times, but the TV might have been on a normal level beforehand, but once you two start talking, it's going to sound really loud and be penetrating into your conversation. And speak slowly and distinctly, as some of you have just added. Before I go to the medical setting, let me see if I can. Remember I said you have to have a sense of humor. I found this online on a hearing loss. Oh no, it didn't show up for you. Oh shoot. I'm sorry. But it's the 10 Commandments for the hearing impaired. Instead of reading all 10 to you, we have handouts over here for you that you can look at. But it covers a lot of the stuff we just talked about with somebody who has hearing loss or doesn't have hearing loss.
Shall I show this one?
Yes, those are ones. Yep.
They look like this. There's some other pictures over here. The 10 Commandments for hearing impaired. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. The first one is, thou shalt not speak from another.
Lee, I don't know if reading on 10, that's not reading on 10. I'd rather just, they can get copies of it later.
Okay.
You've covered already 2 or 3 of them, the people in the audience with their comments. This is a real important one. I've got an example here somewhere. Medical settings. Obviously, safety is a huge issue, as we talked about. And we're all getting older, and we're all probably spending more time in medical settings. We have some of the chapters have prepared what they call a hospital go bag, or to-go bag. And in that bag, they include the things they're going to need to show all the different people they're going to come across, whether it's the receptionist when they walk in, the first nurse that takes them back, the nurse that sets them up, the anesthesiologist. How many people do you come across when you go in for a minor surgery or a major surgery? So in this bag, you want to have things that are ready to give out to people. The last one, when you have a surgery, put either a break button or a break label on whatever you're wearing, your gown, and wear it. Both before surgery, when you go under, and when you come out. Because it might be somebody different when you come out talking to you, and they should know that without your hearing aids, which they take away from you, you can't hear them. So they shouldn't take the hearing aids away until the very last second when they put you under, because you need that. You need to let people know that. And if you're going to be in there for a long period of time, that bright sticker should be right up by your head, letting people know, because everybody's different nurses on different shifts coming in and out. I always take my BART bike in medical settings. I don't use it as much except in the car, but that's one thing I use it for. I've been using this a lot more now. Certainly bring your phone because of all the things we talked about, especially the ability to caption a conversation with the doctor. And bring old-fashioned pen and pencil. There's some doctors that will say, I don't want you recording what I'm saying. Right? Bring out my pen and pencil and write a note on what you're trying to ask. Or say, hey, I didn't hear you. and let him write a note, he or she write a note. So medical settings are very important. So I'm going to leave the one that I have with you, Lee, in case anybody ever wants to see or have an idea. There's sort of a list of things that you can think about if you go into surgery or even if it's outpatient. Some of the things to think about that can be very helpful and safer. Before I introduce, let me just go to one thing here. HLAA Chester County, like I said, is the one that's right here in Chester County. Some of the things that chapters do, and I can only speak for ours and a few others, we have meetings and webinars on hearing loss issues and advancements, bringing in experts like Dr. Bouline, we brought in from Westchester, an audiologist. During the pandemic was great for one thing, Zoom, because it let us continue having meetings. A lot of people didn't like to travel at night to our meetings. Well, now we can have a Zoom at 6 or 6:30, and everybody can join. I was joining Zoom meetings at the HLAA chapters out in California, Florida, New York State, because I thought the topic was really good. And we try to get that information out to all of our members. Judy does this through our monthly newsletter. She lists various webinars that are available. We have social outings, holiday, we have a picnic coming up. We have a used hearing aid project that we're starting. Jim Kane is the person who initiated that with our chapter. Like I said before, a lot of people die and the family finds these hearing aids and don't know what to do with them. They're valuable. They really are. You get them to an audiologist who can fix them up and refurbish them, and we can get them to low-income people who normally couldn't afford a hearing aid, even a cheap hearing aid. So it's still in the early stages, this project, but we are already collecting hearing aids. If anybody has any extras or know anybody who has extras sitting around, we will collect them and we will get them to somebody to refurbish them and then look for people in Chester County who have a need for hearing aids. Like I said, Judy and Steve put out a great newsletter. We've gotten a lot of compliments on it, very informative every month. Month or twice a month? Month. Twice a month, I kill you, I know, yeah. And her listing of closed caption movies and theaters has really been well received. And that's every week, right, I think? Just about every week. Very helpful for people who like entertainment. So, before I introduce Lee to talk about a project that she is starting, does anybody have any questions whatsoever on anything, whether it's on the impact, the technology? So I'm going to need you to run around.
You very briefly passed over the issue of cost. There are certain body of research that has said that the hearing aid industry is really kind of a rip-off. And the disparity between the cost of a hearing aid and what we are actually paying is phenomenal. We have just been introduced, or it's just now been introduced, to have over-the-counter implements that are considerably less in cost. Has your organization, or the national organization, done any research into the ability of these over-the-counter devices to deliver the comprehension and the loudness of a much more expensive hearing aid? So could you address the issue of cost, the issue of cost, because there's so many people out there that don't have the ability to spend $4,000 or $5,000 or $1,000. And so you imagine, you provided all the statistics, imagine the people that don't have all of these things because of the cost.
Well, you asked a very good question. The over-the-counter hearing aid law was put into law, boy, this is how old it was, the first year or second year of Trump's, and then it took 5 years for the FDA to get around to approving it. So HLAA was probably the #1 organization pushing for OTC hearing aids for years, and we finally helped get it pushed through the legislature. We have a person on our staff who strictly spends her time over at Congress. So we were instrumental in getting that passed, and we didn't let up. We kept going after them to get it out there, because the FDA, like any government agency, moves at a snail's pace. So we finally got it last year, I guess it was October it finally came out. So first of all, I will say, if you're interested in that, I have a one-pager here that has a QR code. You can take a picture of it, it'll take you right to the HLA's website, where it has a whole bunch of information on how to buy OTC hearing aids. Because you can get ripped off, you like buy anything, and you have to be careful. But again, we were behind getting the rules in there and getting the implementation and making sure that the prices, and I know the prices can range from a couple $100 to maybe $1,000 or so, depending on what you're getting in the hearing aid. There's all different ones.
How good are they?
They are good for people with mild, which is the lowest level, to moderate hearing loss. And to know if that is you, you really still need to get a hearing test to see where you are. Because if you have severe or profound like me, that's going to do me no good. It's a waste of money. See?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on that because it's a good question, and I think Mike just explained it a little more clearly. If you have mild hearing loss, there's a lot of devices that will help you out. But if you go into the profound or severe, you're going to need a really good pair of hearing aids. And yes, you're going to have to spend a little more money. The neat thing about the over-the-counter ones is HLAA got involved and said, okay, you're going to come out with these. Let's make sure they're industry standards. They're not just amplification boxes, which is still there. You can buy amplification boxes, and I say that sarcastically because you'll get what you pay for, and they'll be very cheap, and they won't really help you hear better. You'll think they're helping, but they won't really help if you're severe. Now, if you have a mild hearing loss, I've told everybody, go to Costco. That's one of our biggest things. We say that because they've helped a lot of people with a mild hearing loss, mild to moderate. But it's not worse than you run on. Back to the point about HLAA, what they said was, so we want standard industry standards. So the ones coming out over-the-counter hearing aids, they'll be more affordable, but they're not going to be as inexpensive, I think, as everybody wants, but they will be more affordable. Now, will they come with follow-up care and audiologist visits and that, and I don't know about warranty, they probably do, but that's yet to be said. The interesting part is that they're only made by the 7 major hearing aid companies. So there's industry standard hearing aids coming out over the counter. Now, the day is going to come, but not this year, maybe in the next few years, where you'll go to CVS and you'll buy a set of hearing aids. And you'll go online and try to, and that's how you'll figure out how to get them to work and go on from there. And they'll be more affordable. But I still hold true that if your hearing loss is severe, you're either going to need a better pair or you're going to go through your implant, which the crazy part of this world is that's covered by insurance. That's a $90,000 hearing aid, in effect, that's surgically put into your skull, and that's covered. So there's the answer to that.
Steve? Jim Lyons.
I'd just like to build on the cost.
Jim, put it right.
I'd just like to build on the cost issue, to comment on, collection of used hearing aids for the underprivileged. And the used hearing aids for the underprivileged is basically, for those people who, are below a certain income level, okay? So in Chester County, 5.9% of the people live below the poverty level, which is really pretty good. Now, the unfortunate thing on the other side of the coin is 22% of the people in Westchester live below the poverty level, okay? So what we're trying to do is identify those people who are under the poverty level and try to collect used hearing aids, have them refurbished, and then give them via an audiologist to the people who need hearing aids and who have a very low income level. That's what our goal is as far as the used hearing aid project. One other comment, Mike made a comment that 33% of the people over 65 years of age have a hearing impairment. However, people over 75, 50% of those people have a hearing impairment. So, if you have a hearing impairment and you're over 75, that's unfortunate, but that's the way people age, and that's the way your hearing ages as well.
In the back there? In the back, oh, sorry, please.
I just wanted to add that, if you email, we have our email address on some of the information, and if you want, I have an article it's very detailed about, recommended over-the-counter hearing aids that have, better quality. If anyone's interested in that, it's a little bit long, the article, so I didn't share it.
Futuristic question, where are we with stem cell, implants or whatever in relationship to hearing?
Stem cell.
I can answer, Mike. It's about
I'm
stem
having
cell.
trouble hearing coming this way.
It's about the stem cell implant.
Oh, okay.
One of the neat things at the convention, and now that the convention is a hybrid, so we all can kind of go to the HOA conventions, they always have a research day or an event. And I think the last several years, it's always been about stem cell research. And the researchers are up there, and they're wonderful people that are doing amazing things. And they'll all say, we don't have time, but we think we're within 10 years or 15. And that's usually the answer. We think we're, and they're getting it. They got it. There's several different research methods. They're getting ready to restore hearing. Maybe not in our lifetime, I'll say, but maybe in 10 or 15 years. And hopefully we're all around.
Mike, what's the website that has all that information? I forget which website.
Research?
Yeah,
I mean, Hearing Health Foundation?
yeah.
Yeah, Hearing Health Foundation, which goes by hhf.org, is a nonprofit foundation that has a wealth of researchers all over the world doing research into how to restore the hearing cells or the hairs. Remember I said you lose those 15,000 hairs over your lifetime? They are doing research comparing us to certain animals that do regenerate their hair. And they're trying to figure out how theirs regenerate and what they can do to get ours to regenerate. So if you're a science type who likes to read research, Hearing Health Foundation is doing fantastic stuff. hhf.org.
I just got Costco hearing aids, And I have an app called Easy Line, which supposedly helps me to connect to the TV and things like that. And the instructions are terrible. Whenever you call the app people up, there's no answer, there's never support. And Costco told me they never answer support. The people at Costco are nice, but I can't get any information on how to work with this app, Easy Line. They sent me a packet, which was nothing in there about how to use your app. So I was wondering, does anybody have any problems with the Costco hearing aid with the Easy Line app? I'd just like to find something that's written to help me connect to my Bluetooth devices and make adjustments which I can't seem to make.
I belong to several blogs and forums on hearing aids and hearing issues. And I forget which one it is, you might remember, but there's one that you go into and you say, hey, does anybody had problems at Costco? I bought a pair of K90s, blah, 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 and I'm having issues. And you'll get answers from people all over the country that have gone to Costco with problems and what they've done to try to get them corrected.
Okay, that'll be good. Because, the Costco people are very nice, but they just said that they don't like with these people. They don't answer or support, and they just sort of throw up their hands. And as I said, I'm having problems with trying to adjust in the restaurant and connect to my TV and things like that. So this will be great. Thank you.
One of the things I did not mention when I was talking about hearing aids is, with the loss of hearing, sometimes your balance is affected. So it's probably a good idea to make sure that your hearing is treated well, because if you suffer from a balance issue, you could conceivably fall and hurt yourself, obviously. So if you do have a hearing impairment, you might want to get some type of treatment to make sure that you either get a hearing aid or some other device that assists you from a balance standpoint.
Steve, doesn't Westchester offer free services for people like that, or is it just
Westchester Speech and Hearing?
Yeah.
Westchester University Speech and Hearing, they might be able to help. For this gentleman at the Costco, it's important to know what brand you bought. And I'm guessing if it's a Phonak brand, then you can call Phonak. That's where you can really get the information. This is the Oticon app that I'm using, which I can do anything with my hearing aid. Right now I'm a T-foil, but
That's not an easy one.
no. Whatever that app is, if you find out the manufacturer of your hearing aids, they would be the people to talk to, and not Costco so much. That would be good.
First lady, you want to come and talk, give your short talk, and then we'll think of anything else afterwards. We'll leave it open, we have plenty of time.
Okay, well, you hear me, guys? Yeah. I am on a radar training, so when we met, this Hearing Loss Association, which was 2 months ago, and it's really had a powerfully positive impact on our lives, because, there were solutions. It was like, well, you can do this and that and the other. It's like, oh, really? I'm not technical. You're talking too fast. Oh, I'm not technical. Thank you for that. So, anyway, we have been struggling with my husband's hearing loss. And once we got involved with this, I really wanted to contribute. So, being a librarian by background, I thought, well, let me put out a book list, a bibliography, because there's lots of stuff out there I'm finding that I didn't know about. So, I've done that. So, there are book lists here. You are free to take one. They're 3 pages long. They're the results of about 2 weeks of work, so they're hastily put put together. But they have, I'm finding just some wonderful titles that I never knew about. I look particularly for some that you might read with your grandchildren. I know our grandchildren will say, well, you know, I can go to Papa not here. So these are like some of the little books that you can read with your grandchildren to say, this is what's wrong with my ears. And actually, one of the best ones is a board book. I don't know why it's a board book. It's not suitable for a teen child. But he talks about the whole science of hearing. And it's a beautiful book. All of these have my name and my address and phone number in them. There's a list. If you want to read it, you can sign them out, read them, and then drop them off on my front porch when you're finished. So there's several of these to read with your kids. This is one. We did go, about a month ago, to a meeting of the Hearing Loss Association. I think that had some other people too. The meeting we went to was not just your group, but some other people. And there was a speaker whose name was Gail Hanlon, who was the poster child for glamorous hearing loss. She's just a wonderful speaker and very dynamic. And this is a book that she wrote with Sherry Evers. And it talks about, you know, maintaining vigor and vitality and, great approach to life after hearing loss. This is easy to get discouraged and frustrated. The technology would drive me crazy. I'm very glad that I'm not the one with hearing loss at this point. But so there are some others here. I'm going to mention just two others that I think would certainly be worth your investment. I'm going to ask our library to get several of these. This one is called El Defo, and it's about a child who is probably close to our ages, who grew up with hearing loss. The remediation was to wear a big clumper of a microphone on her chest, so she always wore overalls and had cords hanging from her ears to this hearing device. It's one of the most, it's a beautiful book. It really brings you into the world of hearing loss. This clumping device was so effective that she could hear when her teacher left the room to go to the bathroom. So everybody got a great fun because of that. This one, which is called Losing Music, was about an upcoming writer and teacher who in his early 30s noticed that his car radio sounded peculiar. And he became completely deaf and went right ahead and had a great life, doing literary work. Anyway, so these are just some things that I found very inspiring. Like I said, if you want to borrow any of these, there's a paper here. Just sign your name, take the book out, and return it to my report. My address is here when you have finished. So that's what I have.
Thank you. So I don't have anything, I mean, I could talk for a couple hours of things, but I don't want to bore you anymore. Does anybody have any other specific questions on anything really related?
When is this going to be on the HOA television?
It'll be on the YouTube channel probably by the end of the week. I have no commitment to the TV. We will give it to
The question
the
is, when
TV.
will be on the
I don't know when they'll put it on. But we do have a YouTube channel.
She's fine.
I know, but I want to give it.
Okay.
Also, if anybody, I'm going to send a copy of this PowerPoint to Sherry. If anybody wants a copy of the PowerPoint for any reason, she'll have that tomorrow.
This will be on our YouTube channel by probably the end of the week. Okay? We will provide it to the television station. When they put it on, that's up to them. That's out of my control. Okay? But we do have the YouTube channel. There's probably 40 or 50 of these presentations on the YouTube channel with all our aware. I think on Hershey'sMill.org, we have a link to the YouTube channel, but I'm not positive. Okay? If you don't have it, just send us an email, we'll send you a link to the YouTube channel.
Thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
What's the name of the channel?
Hershey's Mill Community, Westchester. Okay?
I'll take your mic. So we have two questions. I'll start back here. I'll just go out there. We'll have business cards here. We're all volunteer. There's no paid employees in our chapter, just so you know. We do take donations, of course, but more importantly, if you have friends or anybody you know that have volunteer aids, we'd love to have them. Just go to our website or send us an email. Either way, and you'll have us. There's also information on these cards.
Steve, I got one up front here first. She's got my microphone. Go ahead.
I don't know if this is strange or not, but I find that sometimes I'm listening to a homily or someone at the end of the table in a restaurant, it's plenty loud enough. I can hear them talking, but it's not clear. I can't figure out what you're saying. Am I imagining that?
You're not imagining it. Clarity is a big issue. It could be partly the person, just the way they speak. My wife has this ability